Welcome to the Lean Out Your Business podcast, a show dedicated to helping entrepreneurs accelerate business growth and simplify success. I'm your host, Crista and I've been working with businesses for more than 2 decades to help them lean out and optimize what's working while eliminating anything that's not adding value. So if you are ready to get more time back in your day, more profit in your business, and to do business differently, growing and scaling on your terms, let's dive into today's episode. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Lean Out Your Business podcast. Today, we are going to be doing a deep dive on hiring and how to optimize the hiring process. So we're doing things a little bit different this week, and I hope that you enjoy today's episode, because what I'm doing is I'm actually sharing with you a recording from one of the lean coffees that I do each week. So if you are not already a member of my free Facebook group, the Lean Out Circle, every single week, I do something called Lean Coffee, where I go live and I do a mini training followed by Q&A. So I answer whatever burning business questions you guys have for that particular week. So in today's episode, I'm going to share with you one of the recent episodes that I did for Lean Coffee, where Jessica from my team and I dive in and talk about hiring. And I think you'll enjoy this episode because I'm providing the perspective of the hirer, the company who's going out and actually looking for candidates. And Jess is sharing the perspective of the person who is interviewing and who is looking to be hired by a company. So if you want a little bit of insight into what different candidates are thinking and are expecting and are looking for when they're out there going through all of the different job postings that are out there and they're trying to find their next position, it's really interesting to hear Jess's perspective, because she shares a bit about what her experience was like interviewing for and getting hired within Lean Out Method, and what she just values in general, because she has a lot of experience with helping companies to hire. So hope you really like today's episode and kind of the behind the scenes view of what we do over in our weekly Lean Coffees. If you are not already a member, head to leanoutmethod.com/group to get registered for the Facebook group. And you'll see a banner up at the top of the page, and that's going to tell you when our next Lean Coffee is. But we do this every single week, so I really look forward to seeing you in an upcoming episode. And if you want support with hiring and want to dive deeper in hiring, remember that is one of our pillars inside the Simplify to Scale Business Accelerator. So one of the things we support you with in that program is hiring, building out your lean dream team. So head to leanoutmethod.com/scale for all of the details on that. So with that, let's get to today's episode. Let's dive in for tonight's topic. So what we're going to be talking about tonight is hiring. And not just hiring, but how to kind of optimize your hiring process in what you're doing. And this is super top of mind for us right now for 2 reasons. A, we just finished the Simplify to Scale workshop, and part of what we talk about in that is building your lean dream team and hiring and knowing who to hire next. So we've been talking about hiring a lot this week. And as we're starting to welcome people into the Simplify to Scale Business Accelerator, we're going to be talking a whole lot more about hiring. But on top of that, we are hiring right now as well. So this is definitely very top of mind, and kind of bittersweet news is Jeanette is moving on from Lean Out Method. So you guys are not going to see her with us in the chat much going forward. Jeanette, we are going to miss you terribly in Lean Out Method. But on the plus side, not that you guys will see her, but I still get to see her all the time because she is staying on in Crista. So you may not know that Jeanette works for both of my businesses. So she's staying on in Crista, but we are backfilling for her in Lean Out Method and trying to bring on somebody who can do just kind of the tech all around, because you guys know my deep love of tech and how well it cooperates with me. Needless to say, the tech person is the person that I need most in life. So we are looking to find somebody that we can bring on for the team. So we're currently in the middle of hiring as well. Same, Jeanette. So what we wanted to do today is share a little bit about how we approach hiring. And as you are thinking of making your next hires, or if you're in the middle of hiring, looking at some things that you can do and how you can optimize that process. So with that being said, we're going to start with hiring based on alignment, which is something that you had said, Jess, we were going to kind of share tonight. And again, for anyone who joined me in Simplify to Scale, the workshop at any point in time, you know that what we do in day one, or even if you joined me for the Level Up Masterclass in the past, is we talk about vision. And when you think about where you want to take your business and you think about what's next, right? You've got this long-term vision that you have for your business and you've got where you're at today. Well, obviously there's probably going to be several steps and several jumps and several up levels that you're going to take between where you are today and where you ultimately want to go based on the vision that you see today. And then as you inch closer to that vision, your vision is going to shift and grow too, right? That's just kind of the nature of it. But when you look at it and you think, right, what you've been doing is what got you to where you are today. If you want to get to that next jump, whatever that kind of like leap or next jump is in your business, you need to start doing those things over there in order to get there. And a lot of times that is going to involve hiring, right? It's going to involve you surrounding yourself with other people that can either take the things off of your plate that are not aligned to your zone of genius so that you can do more of them, or people who are coming in who are going to add an additional capability to your business. An example of that is the company that I work with that's absolutely phenomenal that does Facebook ads. That they weren't taking Facebook ads off my personal plate because I would never even attempt Facebook ads personally, but it gave me additional capability in the business by adding them and having them add. So usually you're hiring somebody to align yourself more to your zone of genius. And usually as you're bringing people in hopefully into roles that align with their zone of genius, which complements what you're looking for in the business. Or you're bringing somebody on not to take something off of somebody's plate, but to add a capability or some sort of, function or something that you don't currently have today. So as you're looking at your next level, there usually is some level of hiring that's going to come along with it. And now sometimes when people are in like the scrappy stage of entrepreneurship and they're more in a merge or something and they're wearing all the hats and doing all the things, sometimes you hire a program. What I mean by that is instead of going out and getting a person, you buy the $500 or $1,000 program and learn how to do something yourself that you're going to do in the short term that you're not going to do long term, but you're going to do it until you get to a point that you can hire somebody. So you're still hiring, even if you're not hiring, you just happen to be hiring a program instead of a person in some cases. I think it's always better if you can, when you can, to hire a person. And so I'm going to talk about what that looks like in general. Is a lot of times people think hiring and they avoid it because it feels big, it feels overwhelming, it feels like a ton of risk, it feels full-time and filled with benefits and all the things and taxes and all the things that like people don't want to deal with and all of the stuff, right? And there's a lot of different versions of hiring. You can hire somebody hourly, you can hire somebody part-time, you could hire somebody full-time, you could hire an agency where you just pay a flat fee. You could bring somebody on as more of a freelancer. You could bring somebody on for project-based work where they come on to do something very specific and that's all they do. Or you have somebody more who's with you for like a set number of hours or a variable number of hours every single week, right? And so there's a lot of different flavors of hiring. So if you're like, I'm not ready to hire, you probably are, but it just might not be, you might not be ready for adding another full-time salaried person to your team, but you probably are still ready to hire sooner than you might be thinking when you think about all of the different flavors of expanding your team. So with all that being said, when you think about optimizing hiring, the first piece of optimizing hiring is to figure out what you actually need. Like, do you need a full-time person? Do you need a part-time person? Do you want to hire an agency? Do you want to hire a freelancer? Do you want to hire an individual? Do you want that person to come in skilled? Or are you looking for more of an entry-level person that you're going to train up and you're going to develop because you want them to stick around long-term, right? And so I think you have to just get clear on what your specific needs are and what you're looking for first, because that's going to help you get clear on who you want, but that's also going to help you in the optimization of the entire hiring process, because you're going to be able to choose the appropriate name for the position. You're going to be able to write an appropriate description of the job itself. And you're going to be able to communicate what you're looking for. What I see a lot of people do is like, I need help with social media. What are social media people? Oh, social media manager. Let me Google it. Here's an example job description. I'm going to go post that. And they put the job description out there because it was something they found, and it kind of sounded like what they needed. What they really need is somebody to manage their LinkedIn account. But social media manager, as the job description was written, is like, I'm going to do reels all day long on like Instagram, right? And it's just like totally not a match, right? And so I think you have to have that clarity on what you're looking for, level of experience, what you want to pay, what you're willing to pay, all of those things in advance before you write that description. So I think that's going to be super important. And when you think about that vision that you have, usually you want to look at, when you think of hires and like strategic hires, what's the next person you can bring onto your team that's going to take you closer to your vision? And if you've done the work to take your longer term vision and break it down into near-term goals, if you look at like your 1-year horizon, even like, what is it going to take to achieve what you want to achieve in the next year? So as you're looking ahead to 2022, if you start thinking about 2022, like, what is your vision for 2022? If we're having a conversation in January 2023, and I'm like, tell me why 2022 was the most amazing year you've ever had in business. Like, what does that look like? And then what did it take you to get there? And very often it's going to actually take you taking off some of the 85 hats that you wear in a day, as opposed to adding an 86th, right? Like you want to cut some of the hats. You want to let other people do what they do best, so you could do what you do best. Nobody ever wants me doing tech. That is a very, very, very good thing. Yet I still spend far too much of my time doing it. And that does not bode well for anybody. Right. And so it's like, you got to think about all of those different things. And Jess, I know you have a lot to share as well. I have more I could kind of keep going through, but I'm going to pause there and turn it over to you to share some of your thoughts too.
Everything you're saying is so valuable, because it's like everyone always wants to find the right person, and they want to put the right text out there, content and context for the position itself to hopefully attract the right person. The only thing about it is, I think that a lot of times when people are hiring, they don't think about the reality that it is attraction. So it's like, even when you put yourself in the position of actually wanting to, let's just say, pursue another endeavor as a person that's actively seeking employment or a shift or something different, I always had the mindset of, okay, I'm going to interview this company and dissect and analyze and evaluate the company just as much as they're wanting to have the same type of thing, encounter with me. So alignment goes even in, as we're looking at hiring today, alignment also is making sure that you're putting yourself in the position as a business and as a company to attract the right kind of person. So one thing that is really important to be mindful of is how you present your company and your business. And one of the biggest, I think, steps to do that is actually walk what you talk. And it's like one of the things you cannot hide is whether or not your people are genuinely happy with what they're doing. So, or at least with the team and the environment. So everyone knows you have to, even when you have a team, sometimes hey, we'll switch hats for a day. I'll have on multiple hats, whatever, we work together. But foundationally, we should have that camaraderie that can be felt in a way. And it's one thing to say it and present it, but people can smell the fake in a heartbeat if they really have that type of ability to just be authentic in that conversation that you're having. It's like, something doesn't feel right. So you want to make sure as a business, you are presenting the truth, and you are also making sure that your presence represents what the greatness that you are doing. So if you are doing a lot of great things, you need to make sure that the community and your professional presence actually radiates that, because what's the point in hiding all of your greatness? But also just don't lie about it either, because you don't want to put someone in the position of, like, no one wants to quote unquote waste their time with someone. Let's just say if an applicant exaggerates their abilities on an application, you're going to feel like, well, that was a waste of time. It's the same thing if a company presents a false image and then they wasted their time engaging with you if you're not presenting the true image of what you really are doing. And then another aspect of that is really making sure that you are consistent with posting relevant and appropriate content for what it is you're trying to do. The first thing that I do is I start researching. So I'm going to go to the website, I'm going to LinkedIn, I'm going to Instagram, I'm getting a feel for your presence across all of the things, all of the platforms, everything. So now it's fine to be concentrated in a certain area where you have your one big thing that you're focusing on. But at the same time, it's if you're going to post your job on LinkedIn, then you should make sure that your LinkedIn profile looks nice and clean, that show that you're responsive and you're engaging. If someone does comment, you want to make sure that you have that presence because they're going to be looking for that. Same thing with your other platforms. If you posted, let's just say you post your job on Indeed or another job posting website, you want to be responsive because that leaves an impression. Just like if someone were to be extremely, let's just say, hesitant to respond back, or they didn't answer all of the questions that you asked them, and like, let's just say you applied for the position and they took a long time to even get back with you, and you knew you were more than qualified, you followed all the steps and you didn't hear anything, that leaves an impression. So even if someone isn't a good fit, I think it's also good to be mindful of how you communicate and the impression that you leave upon them. So just be mindful of the presence that you have and aligning yourself in a way to where you're attracting the right type of candidate.
Yeah, that's so important and so good. And I think that, you know, one of the things, if you ever see any of our job postings, like I talk about, if you're a great fit for this position, here's who we're looking for, here's who we are, here's what we value, and here's how you know if you're a good fit. And I think it is important to be clear on what your company values are and what you're looking for. Like I have an absolutely like no drama, no complaining type of thing. It is very clear in the job description, right? Like you need to be resourceful and you need to have a positive can-do attitude. No drama, no complaining at all. Like we are good vibes here. We are good vibes all the way around, right? We have our days. The team saw me on a day yesterday. We have our days. But that being said, like it's, generally speaking, we are positive, can do, resourceful, figure it out, full of possibility type of energy. It would be the worst thing ever to have a negative complainer, downer on our team. Like it would just kill the entire morale. But that being said, my job description is going to completely turn off the type of person that shouldn't work here. And that's what I want. And it's going to be an awesome job description for the right person, which is what I want. I guarantee you, most people look at my job description and say, oh, hell no. And that's good. That's what I want. I'm pre-qualifying people before I ever have to spend time talking to them. And I think when you're clear on what you want and what you don't want, and you make that clear in your description, not even just about the role itself, because that piece is obviously critical, but even just the characteristics of the type of person and the traits and the things that you value in a person on your team, I think that that's also really important. And what I see a lot of people do when they're hiring is they do like literally the checklist of you're going to check emails, you're going to respond to customers, and it's like a bullet of like 6 things. And then they wonder why they don't end up with somebody who kind of gets their vision and really is super bought in and super passionate and who just doesn't seem like they fit, right? Like the first step in effective hiring, the best way to optimize the hiring process is to optimize your job posting for that particular position.
Yes. And one thing that I don't think you gave yourself quite enough credit for, because you touched on it, so I'm gonna like shine a little more light on it, was whenever you like in the posting of like, okay, this is a good fit for you if, then you list the things, and then like this is not a good fit for you if this, and one of the and you list all of the things there. So valuable, because just like we know that if you have a bad experience, you're going to remember that. So people can say, oh yeah, I can do that, I can do that, I can do that. But when it gets to the point to where it's like you're really analyzing, you don't want this position if this is what you're looking for, people, that's going to resonate so quickly to where it's like if they see anything listed there, then they know automatically that that's not in alignment with them. And so it's like, if let's just say you know what you don't want in a job. And so if you feel that, and then as you're looking for another position, if you see that list and it's not something that aligns with you, then at least you know that you can keep it moving and not even invest time and energy into that particular job posting, because that was valuable for me, especially even when I came across the posting whenever I got hired. I was able to make sure that when I did review that list, that there was nothing there on the not list that resonated with me. So I was like, okay, good, this checks all of my boxes because I'm an outside of the box kind of person. So it's the 8 to 5. I don't really vibe with a normal 8 to 5 lifestyle. So that was a thing for me that was like, wow, that's like speaking to my soul right there off the top. So that's something that I just wanted to kind of highlight a little bit more.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. And it is like one of the things in there is this is not for you if you're looking for a typical 9 to 5 schedule. Like seriously, if you have like, you want a super structured day, you want to know precisely what you're going to be doing all day, every day, you are not built for entrepreneur world. Like it is not a thing.
Not at all. Not at all.
Yep. Yeah, totally not at all. But yeah, like you've got to put stuff like that in there. Whereas like Jeannie, I don't know if you're here tonight, but if you're watching the recording afterwards, right? For you, where you need somebody who's going to show up at the front desk and they need to be on time and prompt at 12 p.m. and they need to stay every single night till 6 p.m. prompt. They can't like cut out at 5:45, right? For you, it's a total different experience. You want somebody who might want a reliable schedule, and you want somebody who's super reliable, who's going to show up and hold to that schedule and not be fluid. You don't want the fluid person, whereas I want the fluid person. And so it's like, but if our job descriptions were exactly the same, you'd end up with somebody who'd never be a fit for your business. And if I used one from yours, I'd end up with somebody who'd never be a fit for mine. And I think that's the thing, is a lot of times people copy paste, hack some stuff together. And at the end of the day, they don't really take enough time to figure out what they truly want and don't want. And as a result, it doesn't end up being a good hiring experience. Thanks, Jeanette. Yeah, I mean, my job description, super detailed. They're super long. There's lots of instructions in them. However, that's also, to me, one of my values. Like one of the things I value above all else is attention to detail.
Yes.
And if you can't take the time to read the job description and find down at the bottom where I say in big bold letters, all caps, only those who fill out the Google form will be considered, no exceptions. If you can't even see that and follow the instructions, then you have zero attention to detail. And why the hell would I ever interview you? Not happening. Right. Exactly. And so I do that intentionally. It's very intentional. And I weed through a whole lot of candidates with the way that I approach hiring.
Right. And it's one of those things where if you can't be invested enough into thoroughly reading the job description, then I wouldn't even want to meet with you, because it's when you, like as a business owner, when you've worked so hard to build everything that you've built, wearing so many different hats, it's almost an insult when someone were to just like not even just pay attention and just quickly skim over something. It's like you're investing your time, your energy, you're sharing experiences, you're growing. And hopefully when you are actually investing that part of you, you shouldn't just want to skim through something. Like I said, it should be a mutually, like, it's a mutual encounter to where it's like you're interviewing them and they're interviewing you. So it should be on both sides. So if you can't invest that time into even thoroughly reading something, we don't really have anything to talk about.
It's so true. Seriously, like I want the candidate to be equally as excited about working for the company as I am about them, right? Like I say all the time, I feel like I hit the lottery with you, like seriously. But how many, like there was what, like 168 other candidates that I weeded through before I got to you. You were one of the few out of 168 who actually took the time to follow the instructions and fill out the application properly. That's
And
why we talked.
you're right. But the thing is, for me, is I valued the way the posting was up, the different approach with the form. And it's like wanting to stand out and knowing that, okay, if the quick apply to me is almost too easy in some regard, because it's like, okay, how am I going to stand out? So even having the ability to have open-ended questions that I could respond to, I was able to show parts of me, but at the same time, it was an alignment thing where it mattered to me the way you posted it, just like the responses mattered to you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And 99% of people are not going to care at all, but I don't want 99% of people.
Mm-mm.
I want the Jesses of the world. Realistically, I do.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing. It can be a little discouraging, right? You put a post up and you get like hundreds of applicants and not a single person follows the instructions. And what's your first natural instinct? Well, let me make it easier for them. Nope.
Mm-mm. Yeah.
You don't. You have a certain candidate that you're looking for, and the right candidate is going to mesh with exactly what you put out there, and the wrong candidates are going to be turned off by it, and that's what you want. I mean, I feel like that's kind of like business in a nutshell, but very true for hiring.
Yes, for sure.
All right, so we're just about at time here. So Jess, any kind of final thoughts? I think we can end on that. There's so much more I could talk about. I could talk about hiring.
Right. Yeah, we could.
This feels like a good wrapping point on my end. So anything more you want to add on your end?
I'm pretty complete. We're on the same page. I think that was just enough. And I'm pretty sure if there's a response or some type of comment, we can come back and elaborate on a specific aspect of it. But I think we're good as well.
All right. So guys, next week, I'm not with you. Jess is though, which is going to be exciting. I'm going to be spending the week with my client. I'll be actually on a plane flying home during our normal lean coffee, so I won't even be in the chat with you guys. So Jess, you'll have to tell people what you're going to talk about next week, but I'll be back with you in 2 weeks. And I hope you all have an awesome weekend. I hope you all have a great week. Yeah, that's it. See you guys next week, I guess, or see you guys in 2 weeks for me.
Right.
Night, everyone.
Bye.
So I hope you really enjoyed this episode and the insights into hiring that I had shared and Jess had shared in our recent Lean Coffee. If you're not already a member, head over to leanoutmethod.com/group to go ahead and join our Facebook group. Not only can you join me live each week for Lean Coffee, which is the mini training plus Q&A, but if you go click on that guides tab, there are a ton of amazing resources available to you, including prior trainings, including this one. So I hope you found a lot of value in today's session and have a great week. I will see you again next week. Thank you for joining me for another episode of the Lean Out Your Business podcast. I hope you got a lot of value and actionable insights from today's show and would love if you take a moment to leave us a review. If you have any questions on today's episode or on how to lean out your business, join us over in our private Facebook community where every week we do live training and Q&A, and I'd love to have you be part of the conversation. Head to leanoutmethod.com/group to join us. And before you go, be sure to subscribe to the show so you're the first to know when we release a new episode. We'll see you next week.